Thank you for joining us, Brian.
Good to
Tell
be
us a little
here.
about yourself, what courses you teach and what courses you're using ExPrep for.
Yeah, I spend most of my time these days teaching financial modeling. So I teach it to undergrads, and I also teach it in our MSF program. That's an elective for our MBAs, so I pick up some MBAs in there sometimes too. And then we also have an online MSF program, and I teach a modeling class in there. So I have kind of three different versions of the class going on. Um, I haven't really taught too much else in recent years, especially stuff that I've developed anything Excel for. Um, I filled in a few classes here and there when we were recovering from COVID, um, but I didn't really have time to put a whole class together with them with Excel stuff. So I just stuck with a more traditional lecture kind of format.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, can you tell us about some of the challenges you were facing before you used ExPrep? And
Yeah,
kind of yeah.
let me tell you about my modeling class. I started with the undergraduate class. I started teaching that in 2000, so it's 24 years now.
Wow.
Jeez, I know that makes me feel old. But after probably 5 years into it, I kind of got tired of explaining the same thing over and over again and answering the same questions over and over again. And so I started recording lectures, and then I just started recording my own videos and putting them up on the server for them. And it took about a year or two of maybe 3 years of filling that stuff in, and I basically ended up flipping the classroom. And what I really want students to do in the modeling class is I want them to spend a lot of time doing Excel. And so I've got the class set up so that when they start every day, when they start class, they've got a new problem. They download it fresh at the beginning of class, and they work on it. And then I can walk around class and kind of help them out. Sometimes I go up and get the class's attention and work through some things for everybody. But the idea is to be relatively interactive. And I always tell the students at the beginning that it's okay if the class is noisy. Expect them to be talking to each other. There's all these educational concepts that I was trying to bring in. The flipped classroom is one. Another one is um, when they call it collaborative learning. It's when they're working together on things. You've probably been through all this stuff. So I'm basically just trying to keep up with the times. And I find that this stuff works pretty well, but the biggest frustration I had with that process was that I'm trying to get them to go through lots of spreadsheets, and I'm trying to get them to go through them over and over again so that they really kind of get what's going on and get the nuances. But there was no way for me to provide feedback in well, I forget timely manner. We had so many spreadsheets, and they'd end up with basically 100 spreadsheets at the end of the semester. So there's no way I could grade them all. If
Right.
I had 90 students and 100 spreadsheets, what else I'd be doing? Probably nothing,
Right.
right? So even then I'd never get through them all. Um, so I was really looking for a way to get some more interactive feedback in a sense. And when I saw XPrep being demoed, I knew right away that this was going to be interesting. And now I've been using it for, has it been 2 years now, I think?
Okay, I think it's about right.
Well, yeah, around there. And so I'm getting reasonably good at structuring the spreadsheet in a way that gets to what I'm trying to get them to do, and grades the key points that I want them to hit on, and in such a way that it can give them reasonable feedback.
Are you
Um,
using the multiple like layers of feedback for after they submit multiple times?
um, I'm not sure about that. I use on the grading page, you can have feedback for if they get a right answer or a wrong answer. I'm not sure if that's what you meant or if there's something else. Maybe there.
No worries. But for our viewers listening, if you did want to evolve your grading tab and allow students to have multiple submissions, you can have multiple columns of feedback that might lead them closer and closer to the right answer
Oh,
over time.
that's yeah. I'll have to look at that because that would be really interesting. I've
Yep.
not done that. I do is there's sort of three levels of spreadsheets that they work on during the semester. They've got every day we got the problem spreadsheets, and I they have to submit those by the end of the following day, and they get credit for submitting them and no credit for not submitting them, and that's all I look at. And so I'm basically using XPrep to give them all the feedback on those things, because there's no way, I just can't go through those things. And then we have assignments. I've got basically 12 assignments through the semester, so kind of 4 per topic. But I just split the semester into 3 pieces, and so those, um, I also let XPrep do most of the grading on those, but what I end up doing is I'll interact with them in class about issues that they have, and I may update the grade sheet on XPrep, while sort of during that process, and use the regrade feature, and update what the results are, and how that's working. And I
It's a
find that
really
to be pretty good, because and they like that too, because then they realize that, hey, I'm being flexible. I'm interacting with them, and responding to their concerns, and so that's good too. It
yeah.
takes a little bit of the mechanical aspect away from it, makes it a little
And it
bit more
sounds like you're
personal.
able to spend less time grading and more time actually teaching students, which is, the fun part of
Absolutely.
teaching.
That's Yeah, actually, absolutely, and that's what I really like about it. And but wait a minute, let me finish. The third type of thing is the tests. So I have three tests: first and second midterm, and the final exam. Now on the labs, which is the daily stuff, and the homeworks, I let them do multiple submissions up until the due date, so they can put those in. But they're the only feedback, since I wasn't aware of the multiple feedback levels. I've just been using the feedback that's in there. And to be honest, on the daily stuff, I haven't developed the feedback very well. I spend a lot more time for the feedback on the actual assignments, because on the assignments they're concerned with their grade, as opposed to with the other ones. Their only real requirement is to get it in. Although I have found that they want to get a good score on there. I keep telling them the score that you're getting on there is XPrep's grade. It's for your feedback. I'm not counting it towards your final grade, but yeah, I'm glad you're looking at it, and they do, and they get real frustrated because they want to get 100 on that thing. So they just keep doing it, which is exactly what I want them to do. So that works out. That works out well. um, yeah, and so I do that with the assignments too. I don't bother with any feedback stuff on the exams, unless it's just basically notes to myself, because they don't get those
Sure.
back.
Has there been any other feedback from students about like their use of the tool and how they've liked the change?
What I have gotten feedback. What I find is that the students at the upper end of the curve, um, they seem to like it a lot. They really like the feedback. They really get that they're learning. They really get that it's helping them a lot. I think at the other end of the grade distribution, they're kind of frustrated by some of the mechanics of it, but they'd be frustrated in any case, because what they're really frustrated with is just trying to solve a problem with Excel, when they can't really quite figure out how to do it.
But those are ultimately the skills we're hoping that they gain by
Well,
using
that's the
Excel.
thing. Yeah, I think so, and I think even students who came in not properly prepared, and maybe don't do all that well, they still realize at the end that they've gotten a lot out of it, and they feel a lot more confident. And I try to be a little bit of a cheerleader in there, and I tell them, that hey, they should be able to feel the confidence, and their skills are keep getting better, and I tell them every time they get like when they write a macro, and it works, they should stand up and do a little dance. Nobody ever does, but I do, just to encourage them.
Right.
um,
Is there anything else that you would like to share about your XPrep experience?
um, Well, let me just say that it took me several semesters to kind of get up on the learning curve, to really to figure out a bunch of things. But I also had to learn, like, what's a better way to lay this out, so that I can actually figure out if what they're doing is right or wrong.
Sure.
Because I think when you first use it, basically you're just kind of checking to see if their numbers are right. And then, when you go through it again the next semester, you start thinking a little bit about, okay, well, what can I do different? Well, I can require certain things of the equation, or use some of the other gradable parameters. After you go through it 3 or 4 times, and you keep paying attention to what's possible out there, you start figuring out other ways to grade things and to label it. And so you get better at it, and you can become more sophisticated, and that's one of the things I like about it. But it's something, for somebody who's starting out, they got to recognize that it's going to take probably several semesters of repetition to go through to really kind of get your skill level up to where you'll be at least be satisfied with it.
Sure. I think with most tools, it falls into the category of you get in what you get out what you put into it type of thing.
Right, right. Not everybody appreciates tools that way. I'm a tool guy, so to me it's kind of natural. But I know a lot of people get really frustrated. It's like, I can't. Why can't I figure this thing out? This doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, well, just chill. Okay, you'll you'll get better at it. Just keep working.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um,
Well, thank you, Brian. I think those are all the questions I had for you.
okay.